Hey everybody, it's Chris here again with another video. So I have an announcement for the channel for everyone who subscribed. I've decided to grab the bull by the horns with this channel. I've decided from now on, every time I upload a video, I will have a theme for every day of the week. Excuse me. So what that means is every time I upload a video for that day, each day will be connected with a theme. So every Thursday, which is today, will be Throwback Thursday, which means retrospective film reviews. Any film that I think that it needs to be revisited or reviewed, I'll do a review on that. Kind of what I did with Alien, what I'll be doing today, and we'll just do it down the week. Fridays will be foreign film Fridays. When I upload videos on Fridays ever, they will be on foreign films. For Saturday, I'll do doubles. It'll be double feature weekend, so Saturday and Sunday will be whatever double feature I decide to pair together. I'll recommend it and upload it like a Saturday or Sunday. Mondays, which will probably be the most consistent, are gonna be my until it's over. Who knows how long that'll be? Is the Bergman Mondays. I'll review or highlight one of the films in the Bergman Cinema box set I have and do a review or some progress on where I'm at with the box set, which is pretty steady so far, honestly. I gotta give myself some credit. There goes something that fell. Whoops. Then Tuesday is going to be my top 5 Tuesdays, and those will be fun. I'll be doing like top 10 themes, but every time I upload them, I'll probably be doing a top 10 Christmas theme coming up for a sneak peek for everybody. I'm really excited to do that one. And then Wednesdays, which are going to be a little crazy, are going to be my hot take Wednesdays. So every time I upload a Wednesday video, it's going to be a hot take. And it won't be like a normal rant video for me. It'll be just, hot take. This movie is this for me. And I know most people don't think that or whatever. So hopefully with that format structure, it'll be a little more consistent. I feel like lately I haven't been very consistent with my videos lately. I mean, of course, from time to time, there'll be a few special, videos that go against the day. But for today, it's Thursday, so, retrospective day, probably gonna be my favorite. And grabbing that film. So my first one was on Alien, and my second film is gonna be another 70s film. And those who know me know that the 1970s is my favorite decade. I think it's the best decade of cinema ever. I think we have some of the best films to ever be made during that time, at least in American cinema. And for today, the one I want to talk about is debatably one of the most underrated of the decade. I don't think this film gets enough recognition. It certainly didn't when it first came out. It is a film directed by Robert Altman, Robert Altman, who he directed the film, not the movie, the show MASH, in 1970 or 1971, I believe. He was one of the leaders in the new Hollywood movement from the 60s to the 80s. So he was up there with he was leading with like Scorsese, Woody Allen, Coppola. The basically like a new era of Hollywood that was a lot more grittier and dark. Robert Altman, though, he was definitely different than most the directors. I know, reading a few bios on him, he was very much a man who tooted to his own horn. He was not a conformist at all. Very unconventional, which I like in directors. Apparently, there's a story of him where he just refused to listen to studio heads when making his films, and he was very much the authoritarian, which was a theme for 70s films. Guys like Woody Allen and Scorsese, they were very much on their films. They didn't let studios budge into their films. And same thing with Robert Altman. But there was a story where a studio head tried to tell him, like an exec said, hey, you gotta change something, and he freaking punched the guy, which I don't condone that kind of stuff, but I mean, that's pretty badass, a director, really taking pride in his work and knowing the direction. You don't see that very often these days in filmmaking. But probably his best film in the filmography, in my opinion, and he is by the way, a Academy Award nominated director as well. But I think this might be his best film, and it's certainly one of my all-time favorites in the 70s and extremely underrated. That film today is Elliot Gould starring in The Long Goodbye. This film I received as a present from my friend Seth, who, thank you so much for this film. This was a blind buy. Excuse me. This was a blind buy he made for me, and he bought it just based off the synopsis. Just the cool private eye neo-noir film about a guy who investigates the missing disappearance of his friend, and his friend was accused of murdering his wife. Stylized and cool in the 70s in LA. That was for me. He just saw that and he said, yep, Chris is gonna love that. And damn, I did love it. It's this film is amazing. So I would just get into the film. So Elliot Gould stars as Philip Marlowe, and Philip Marlowe is a cool, easy, nonchalant private eye detective who works in LA. And the opening shots of the film is like a 10-minute segment of the streets of LA and Elliot Gould getting food for his cat, and it's a very picky cat, and he's constantly smoking a cigarette. He's like so cool with it. I swear in this film he goes through so many 12 packs. I think he probably got sponsored from like Marlboro or whatever for this, because he literally is smoking all the time, and it's so cool. And he has fuzzy hair, and he kind of talks and acts kind of like Spike from Cowboy Bebop, now that I think about it. But yeah, anyway, so it's late at night, and Philip Marlowe's friend and neighbor, Terry Lennox, asks him to drive him to Tijuana, Mexico. And Elliot Gould, the good, cool guy that he is, he just says, fine, whatever. It's like 3 in the morning. Drives him from LA all the way there and then back and drops him off. No big deal. He goes to sleep. Wakes up to his neighbors, who are obviously they're hippie women who do holistic exercises and meditations, sometimes even naked. Yes, there's nudity in this film. But yeah, 2 police officers knock on his door asking where Terry is, and he tells them he doesn't know. He just dropped him off. And anyway, he finds out that his friend Terry has been missing and has been charged with murdering his wife, Sylvia, I believe was her name. And Marlowe knows nothing about this, and Marlowe is thrown already into this conspiracy story between the authorities and Terry. So obviously Marlowe, the private detective, takes upon himself to find his friend Terry. And all the while he's being tagged by another police officer, and the cool guy that Marlowe is, when he's being tailed and loses the police officer, he stops to remind him, hey, you're supposed to be following me, and you're not doing a good job, man. You got to keep up. That's just already telling you what kind of guy Marlowe is. But Marlowe goes and meets the author. His name's Wade, played by Sterling Hayden, who also stars. He didn't star, but he was he played the police officer in The Godfather, McCluskey, and he plays this really drunken auteurist author who's very much like Ernest Hemingway, alcoholic, grizzly beard, wants to be a sailor, woe is me, depressed. Anyway, so Marlowe has to deal with this Wade guy who was friends and knows Terry's and his wife's social life, and because they're in the same social circle. So Marlowe's trying to get the things figured out with Marlowe and with Wade and Terry, and he basically figures out that Terry's this alcoholic, horrible, wife beater who's on medication, owes a lot of money, and he gets links to where to find Terry, and it leads to him meeting a gangster named Marty. And Marty is this very small, tough-talking guy who tries to act very sophisticated. But anyway, Marty isn't happy with seeing Marlowe because Terry owes him a lot of money, and he knows that Marty knows that Marlowe has been looking for for Terry, and we go this very intense scene where Marty and his gangsters go into Marlowe's apartment, trash it. The cat's okay, don't worry, but the cat kind of ran away. Whoops. But Marty goes, hey, so where's Terry? Marlowe goes, I don't know. Marty brings his girlfriend into the apartment, sits her down, asks for a bottle of Coke, drinks it, and then breaks the glass bottle on his girlfriend's face. It's a very uncomfortable scene. very gritty. And Marty says infamously, "That was a woman I loved. You, I don't even like." So, I mean, this guy is nuts. I mean, what do you think he's going to do to Marlo if he doesn't find Terry? So, Marlo is quick to try and find Terry, and he goes back to Wade, and Wade, some few things happen to Wade, and Marlo eventually discovers where Terry's been hiding, and it comes down, the movie comes down to a really, really cool confrontation scene and a very satisfying and super stylizing cool ending. And that's basically the story of The Long Goodbye. It's a neo-noir film. It is very much homage to the old noir films, kind of like The Maltese Falcon. But this film is way cooler, I think. It has so much style to it. It's kind of gritty in like the 70s films as well. But since Robert Altman directed it, he did a lot of unconventional angle shots and cutaway scenes. But that's what mostly Robert Altman was very well known for. But the film is really about these characters. They're just so interesting. Every single one of them, even the horrible ones. Marty is very interesting as a freaking mob boss because he's so nice, like, and sophisticated the way he talks, but he's such a horrible person, and the things he did to his girlfriend, the way he talks to her, just makes you feel so disgusted and angry. And another cool thing about Marty and his gang is that my friend who saw this, Daniel, he never noticed. I don't know if he noticed that at first when I told him, but Arnold Schwarzenegger is actually in this film. He is one of the henchmen. I don't think he gets a name recognition in the credits, if I remember correctly, but he's this big, jacked, side henchman character, and he's got the long blonde hair, and he's just standing with his hands crossed, and there's this really weird scene where Marty asks everyone to take their pants off, and, everyone's there. I believe Marlo isn't obviously going to do that, but Arnold Schwarzenegger pulls his pants down, and he's there in his tidy whities, all buff. It's such a weird scene, but to see Arnold and where he started and to where he is now is just so funny. And this makes that film just so much cooler, too. And Sterling Hayden's character is so interesting for the fact that it's a very complicated character and very conflicted. But obviously, Elliot Gould steals the show in this. He portrays debatably the decade's coolest protagonist. The film is very originally written, but it is adapted from like I said, it's adapted from a book. But this film, I mean, I haven't seen really anything like it ever. I have never seen a character like Philip Marlowe. He just smokes a lot of cigarettes, cool talking, very easygoing at his own pace, cares about his cat. And this film was not very well received when it first was released. Very poorly received, actually. But now, because Kino Lorber brought this film back out, more people got to see it. It's got a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, folks. And I didn't know that. I didn't even know what this film was about until I saw it. And I was just blown away by this. I was just thinking, my God, this film is probably one of the best hidden gems of the 70s. This is probably one of the best films of the 70s, too. As soon as I thought, I couldn't stop talking about it. I had to recommend it to all my friends. And they equally said this film was amazing. But 1973, The Long Goodbye, starring Elliot Gould, who was also in MASH by Robert Altman. Excuse me, ate some Oreos before the video. But this film, 112 minutes long. Time flies by. This is like a film where you just don't want it to end because it's so cool and you love Marlo. You want to just keep going at it. I wish if they did like a series with like Marlo, I would have been all for it, honestly. Elliot Gould just clocks in the performance of a lifetime, honestly. And I don't think anybody else could have done this character the way he did. And honestly, this is a 5 out of 5 film, folks, honestly. Drop what you're doing. Try and get this film any way you can. It's a Kino Lorber, so it's got a boutique kind of price tag in a way, but it's affordable. And honestly, just get it and just watch it. Sit down and watch it. Request a day off from work. Watch this film. You won't regret it all. Even if you don't like the 70s and neo-noir or just noir films in general, the mystery of the story itself will keep you there. And I'm begging you, stick with it till the ending because the ending is so cool and satisfying. Very different from most 70s films, in my opinion. But yeah, this has been my retrospective review on The Long Goodbye, underrated 70s film, and definitely rewatchable, and one of my all-time favorite films I have in my collection. Thank you, Seth, so much for this film, honestly. This film changed the way I looked at 70s films, honestly, and I'm so proud to have it. But yeah, that's been it for The Long Goodbye. Again, if you missed the opening of the video for whatever reason, like I said, this channel's gone through some changes now for these days of the day of reviews and the themes of each video, and I hope that helps and is a little more entertaining for everybody. Anyway, today this has been the Hertastic reviews on The Long Goodbye. Everyone, thanks for the support and listening, and I hope you guys stay tuned for the next videos that I'll be posting throughout the week. Thanks, I'm signing off.